Well, I'm going to apologize right up front, FlatsClass YouTube, because my voice is about shot. I taught a fishing school yesterday at Sodium, and when you talk straight for 5 hours, you lose your voice a little bit. You can see it's Christmas time. Yeah, water's chilling down, and sometimes for myself, when the flats kind of go cold on me, where I don't have the best fishing, I returned to a strategy that served me well. I mean, really well, when I lived in Tampa Bay for so many years, and that's fishing docks. Skipping docks has been one of those solid strategies that works year-round. But when we get a little cooler and the fish move into residential canals and into rivers and into marinas and things like that, skipping docks can really produce plenty of redfish, trout, flounder, even gag grouper, and especially snook, which you're going to go watch right now. And I'm going to get the gear out of the truck, and then we'll talk about what you need to do what I'm about to show you. Go on, go watch the show. I'll be back. This episode of FlatsClass YouTube is brought to you by Aquatraction, your go-to solution for advanced marine flooring. This is where you want to have a good stick. medium heavy, nice river snook. Oh, come on, baby. Nice. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. All right, come on in here for the landing. Come on, darling. That is a nice river snook right there. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous, nice and dark, just the way they're supposed to be. All right, back you go. Bill Dance style. Skipping docks. It works. It's a great wintertime pattern. Manatee. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Ah, come on. Get hung up, that's part of it. That is part of it. You're not getting hung up, you're not catching any. I can tell you that. That's a fact. Nobody. From the dock. Hit my anchor button. Another nice fish. Beautiful. Whoa. Another gorgeous fish. Yep. Lots of this size line siders in here. Off he goes. So there is a mentality that has to be considered when you fish docks. You can't have in your head that you're gonna fish 15 or 20 docks, and if the action is slow, you're going to just move on to something else. No, when you do the type of dock fishing that I do, and this particular day that you just watched, I fished for about 3.5 hours. In that 3.5 hours, I likely fished well over 100 docks, probably closer to 150 than 100. I'm tireless when it comes to docks, and it's a power fishing type game when I do it. Now, for me, there's a couple of great baits, and you might have recognized some of them in the video, that you can utilize to dock fish. The first thing that I consider is I consider that I don't want to catch any small fish. That sounds crazy, but I just don't. So I don't like to throw small lures. About the smallest thing I'll throw is 4 inches, but most of the stuff I throw is 5-6 inches long in many cases. 5 is probably the average because I throw a lot of jerk shads. Now, in that video, I was throwing a lot of the goats, and on this other skipping rod, I like to throw a lot of jerk shads. And I brought 2 rods out to really show you, because I know not everyone wants to skip with a casting rod. the jerk shads. And if you look real close, you'll see how I pull that plastic, that Elastec, over the hook eye, so I've got a solid connection there. So, and it doesn't give me as hard an edge everywhere, because part of skipping is being that nice flat body. You know, the body of a jerk shad is very flat, so you can skip it a long way. Some of the other choices that I like to use for skipping, quite honestly, other than, you know, the goat's pretty easy to figure out why I like to skip it. Big flat body, got great little crazy legs, and it's just a good looking bait. It looks like a crab up underneath there. You can also skip the kicker crabs as well. These big swimtails, like the 5-inch diesels, they're excellent for skipping. And then something that I used to do a lot when I used to fish competitively for redfish is skip tubes. Tubes are nice and smooth and round and easy to roll under there, especially if you're fishing spinning gear. Spinning gear, it's excellent. So let's talk about my skipping rod that I used, and then I'll move to some of that spinning gear stuff. So let me reach for it. All right, here is the model that I use. I know it's difficult to see. Try to get a little light on it for you there. This is a Zodius, a Shimano Zodius. It's got the monocoque handle, which is important to me because I want to feel the hit as it happens. I'm using a 200 Shimano Corrado, and I've got it packed with 30-pound Super Slick Power Pro V2. So that 200XG, it's a little bit faster reel, so I can react quickly. When a fish jumps the line, I'll watch for that line. And I do like these brighter colored lines for me, especially switching hands with the bait caster as I skip under the dock, because I want to know when a fish picks it up immediately so I can hit them. The leader material, I've got 30-pound Power Pro, but I typically use 30 and sometimes up to 50-pound fluorocarbon, and I don't need a really long length to fish these baits because it's mostly reaction time. And what's important about the lure itself, just so you know, is that you pick, now these aren't partner-friendly jig heads. This is a jig head style that's out of the Keys. It's that boxing glove style jig head, if you will, okay? But it gives me a nice smooth skipping surface, so that when I'm skipping a bait, it's a lot easier to skip it if most of this stuff is flat and there's no sharp edges like you'd have with a minnow head. That, and with a casting reel, that's important because you will backlash the reel if you dig in too hard. So I do prefer these, and it doesn't matter if I throw it on this. The other thing that's kind of nice about these jig heads, or snapper jig heads, are the hooks are a little bit smaller, so it makes skipping a little bit easier as well. Do I lose a fish every now and then? Yes, I do lose a fish every now and then. But for the most part, big baits like this are a lot easier for me to skip. And you'll notice that the weight of the heads, well, they're kind of heavy. Typically, I'm skipping with 3/8. Sometimes I'll skip with 1/2 ounce jigs, but it gives me that nice little smooth where I don't have to cast real hard, because I don't want to have to sling it so hard that if I hit a piling, and you heard me hit a bulkhead post in there every once in a while, I'd slide in there and it hit that, well, that stops the spool and you'll get an overrun. So I set all the magnets on in my reel, and I have this one set for like number 5 on the Corrado, 4 or 5. It just depends on what bait I'm throwing. And then I have the tension knob where it'll fall free, but it won't fall super fast like it typically. It falls kind of slower for me in that way, because I don't want to have to really generate a ton of rod speed, because that'll wear me out, because this is a medium heavy action rod with an extra fast tip. So only the last 15% of this rod really bends. So it's important, because when you get it eat, you want to be able to pull them out, as you can see. And those were just run-of-the-mill, 24 to 26.5 inch snook. Can you imagine a 35 inch snook? So you got to have a stick. So that's my setup on the casting stuff. Now let me put this one down and let you see what I use when I'm throwing a spinning rod. All right, the spinning rod, a little bit different. I'm using, this is my Terramar PX. There's the model number right there, 7 foot medium heavy. I don't like really long spinning rods to skip. Even though I'm a taller guy standing on the deck, I like to be able to get that rod tip down low to the water and be able to start that skip and get it to roll up under the dock. Now for me, I can't throw the heavier jig heads on the spinning gear like I can on the casting gear, and that's why you see me use the casting gear quite a bit. So typically if I'm using spinning gear to accomplish the same type of effect, I'm using baits that are a little bit different. Like this is the 5-inch jerk shad, you know, again, very flat sided. It does have the trout eye jig head on it. On the 1/4 ounce size, the hooks aren't quite as big. See, on the 3/8 and 1/2 ounce, it's just too big, and that's why I use the other jig head to accomplish that. This is a great bait to be skipping on that type of rod setup. And then again, the tube bait. The tube bait does a really good job. I kind of shove the head up inside the tube so all the edges are nice and smooth. I rub my finger right there and get the line tie to come out. And then if you find out that the back of the bait bends up a little bit, just take a pair of scissors and cut into it just a little bit. With Elastec, you can always glue that last little piece back together right there where you made the little slit. Just glue that and squeeze it together, hold it for a few seconds, and you're good. And this is an excellent skipping bait. I mean, if you're gonna have a skipping bait with training wheels, this is definitely it. And then the vessel itself is hollow inside. You can squeeze a little Procure in there, whoo, skip it under there, kill it on the bottom. This one gets a lot of flounder, I'm telling you that right now. Because you can't use as heavy a line with a setup like this, I've got 15-pound Power Pro hooked up on this. I could probably use 20-pound Power Pro, but I've got 15. I've got a little bit longer section on this one, a 40-pound fluorocarbon leader, and these are all 1/4 ounce heads, because when you're skipping with spinning gear, it pulls the line off the spool. You don't have to shoot it off the spool, so you can get away with a lighter head and cast it up in there. Most of the docks I fished were between 4 foot and about 6, 7, 8 feet in that video. But when I'm in shallower docks or longer docks that are easier to skip, lots of times I will use spinning gear, and this little Terramar PX is an excellent little deal. I do like to have a quality reel. This is a 4000. This is a Twin Power XD 4000 XG, which is a little bit faster reel, and it has a lot of adjustment and a ton of drag. So this is an excellent reel to snook fish with around docks, and that's what I keep it for there in the rack. It's one of my snook rods. But between these two setups, you can really accomplish just about anything. I mean, as far as dock fishing goes. So in short, you want smooth, flatter sided baits that are easy to skip. You can't skip plugs. You can't skip. There's certain baits you just can't skip. But weight forward is important. I see a lot of folks, they'll use rigging hooks that are belly weighted and they'll skip, but they only skip like 3 or 4 times. They don't really get in there where you can really do some damage. I like to be able to skip and get it way back in there and cover the whole dock in just a few casts and then move to the next dock, because the more docks you cover, the more fish you catch. Simple as that. All right, if you like what I'm teaching you here on FlatsClass YouTube, I encourage you, subscribe. Tell your friends, give us the thumbs up, like these videos, share them. It's my job, after being on the water for 30 odd years, to make you a better angler. Now I'm looking out that window right now and Blondie's looking for me because I've only hung some of the Christmas decorations. She's got lights for me to do and these new stocking things she bought for that ranch sign out there. Did I mention how much I love the holidays? We're putting this up and we'll be taking it down in 3 weeks. We don't even have little kids anymore. Come on. But she's a little kid and she wants it done. And that's what I'm going to do. See you on the next YouTube video.